Most intense day of strikes against Iran to date. That is the promise from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on day 11 of the war in the Middle East. You can see every country in this region on high alert. In fact, Iran saying they're going to show no signs of backing down. They're only ramping up attacks on their neighbors here on this map. And in fact, take a look at this video. It's a damaged building in Bahrain. To that point, an Iranian drone caused that damage. There it is. You can see right there to that building. It just hit the side of that building, took it out. That apparently killed one civilian in that area. Meanwhile, President Trump is sending a different message about the war. In fact, he tells CBS News' Wei Zhang the war could be over soon. He even repeated that statement when he spoke last night. Listen.
But they were going to take over the Middle East. Those weapons were aimed at Middle Eastern countries that had nothing to do with this. They were going to take over the Middle East, and they were going to try and destroy Israel. So we stopped it with good timing, and we're very proud to be involved in this, and it's going to be ended soon. And if it starts up again, they'll be hit even harder.
CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata is live for us in Tel Aviv. Charlie, President Trump says this could end soon, but does this seem anywhere close to being done from where you are? I know I've seen you stand there hearing the sirens going off. I have friends who have family members who are running in and out of shelters. Is it a different picture, and does it square with what the president has to say?
Yeah, Reed, you know, it doesn't feel that way. And the U.S. military loves a statement that says the enemy always has a vote. And Iran has signaled multiple times, including today, that they are in no position or incentive to surrender or to be part of any kind of negotiations to bring an end to this. And we've seen it. It's been self-evident. You showed those pictures in Bahrain. There have been attacks in the UAE. There have been attempted attacks here in Israel. We just came from the north where they were firing not just missiles and rockets, and this is Iran and Hezbollah. We also have to have that as part of the conversation because the Iranian-backed group Hezbollah has been coordinating attacks with Iran, overwhelming Israeli defenses here. And that's important because if Hezbollah and Iran continues to attack Israel, that enables Iran to free up its own firepower to attack places like U.S. targets in this region and U.S. allies in this region. So that's what we've seen. Now, I have to make clear that the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said today, and Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, that they're seeing the amount of outgoing down by 90%. And honestly, I can't argue with that because the frequency and intensity of the amount of attacks that we saw in the early days, a week ago, 10 days ago, it was far more frequent, but Iran and Hezbollah continue to attack, especially in concentrated areas a bit in the north. And we have seen that again today, I mean, in interrupted broadcasts. So it is still happening here. The United States, according to the U.S. military, they have been able to suppress the launches, not just what's coming in here, but where they're coming from. Again, now down by 90%, the Pentagon says, but Iran continues to attack and shows no appetite in stopping those attacks.
Charlie D'Agata, please stay safe there, and thank you so much for your continuing and tireless coverage. We appreciate you. Let's turn now to the White House with CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes, also asking questions at centers of power. Nancy, Secretary Hegseth talked about this timeline for the war, but that seems to be at odds with what the president has had to say. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. I think what the president had to say is at odds with what the president himself has said in the past about the timeline for this war. So let's start there. The president told our own Wei Zhang yesterday that the war is very complete, pretty much, which would seem to signal that the end of the war is near. He is very well aware of the hit to the stock market, hit to oil prices, gas prices, and he knows that Americans are worried. But in the same 24-hour period, he also said that he will not relent until the enemy is defeated, which would seem to signal a longer-term war. He has also said that he will only accept unconditional surrender. And as you just pointed out, Reed, the Iranians have said multiple times that they have no plans to surrender. So all of that would seem to be at odds with the president's claim that the war is very complete. As for what the Pentagon is saying, they claimed as recently as yesterday that they were only getting started, that the war had just begun. The defense secretary said today in speaking to reporters that all of this is on the president's timeline. So it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. It all depends on what the president decides. But one thing is very clear: if they are looking to keep the Iranians confused about exactly how long they plan to fire this barrage of missiles on Iran, they are definitely succeeding. It is very unclear how long this military campaign will last.
Well, if oil is the lifeblood of Iran, certainly the artery is that place that we've been learning about and had a masterclass on called the Strait of Hormuz. We've seen some clashing messages from President Trump and also voices out of Iran relative to the Strait of Hormuz. As we see oil prices go up, as we see market reaction to that, what's the latest there from those two voices?
So the president said to Ouija yesterday that he is considering taking over the Strait of Hormuz. And that is so important because this is a roughly 25-mile wide body of water that 20% of the world's petroleum travels through one way or the other. And so that gives you a sense of why oil prices have shot up. The industry and the shipping industry are just too afraid to pass through there right now because they worry that they'll be attacked. In fact, Iran has said that if anyone tries to pass, they will set those ships ablaze. Now, it's unclear what the president means when he says that he might take over the Strait of Hormuz, because even if U.S. military ships began to escort oil tankers through the strait, there are still Iranian land-based missile launchers that would be able to reach those targets. And that is what really worries the oil industry, the shipping industry. That's why that most of them have not been willing to take the risk of trying to pass through the strait.
25 miles wide, 20% of the world's oil supply going through there. 2520 sounds like the title to a coming documentary. Nancy Cordes, the story continues. Thanks for helping us tell it there from the White House. Meanwhile, the Pentagon identified the 7th soldier who lost his life in the war with Iran. You were looking at the photo of Sergeant Benjamin Pennington of Glendale, Kentucky. He lost his life when Iran conducted a major airstrike on a U.S. base in Saudi Arabia. Edward Smith, with our CBS News station in Kentucky, spoke with members of Sergeant Pennington's community.
In Glendale, Kentucky, flags gently wave through the air as a reminder of freedom. Over the weekend, the community got another reminder that freedom comes at a cost. Sunday morning, the small community slowly started to find out about the loss of Sergeant Benjamin Pennington in the conflict between the U.S. and Iran.
He was a good, real, genuine person.
Brother Michael Bell serves as the pastor of Glendale Christian Church, where Pennington grew up attending. He says he remembers him for having a steady personality.
Ben was always a good young man. Came today after school program here. Just a good person.
Pennington attended Central Hardin High School. He graduated nearly 10 years ago, but teachers still haven't forgotten him.
But when you see someone that you interacted with 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, his entire senior year, you don't forget somebody like Ben Pennington. You just don't.
Throughout his time as a student, teachers remember Pennington for the effort he put into everything he did. He was an Eagle Scout. He also was a part of the school's automotive technology program, where he represented the school in Skills USA.
He passed the industry certifications for those. And so he was very good at anything I could give to him, anything I could, put in front of him. And several students are that way, but anything I put in front of him, he excelled at that.
They say all of his work done was in preparation for joining the military, making the loss heartbreaking, but not surprising for the community.
We want the Penningtons to know that we hurt with them and that we stand with them. And we're very proud of their son.
We hurt, we stand with them. We echo that. Reporting from WLKY in Kentucky, thank you so much for that report. Pennington will be posthumously promoted to Staff Sergeant. Our thoughts with his family.